Now, what I'm going to start out with is a very common topic, which is really pernicious and it's affecting a lot of guys these days. That is the nice guy syndrome. All right. And I'm going to discuss 3 areas that you have to address to really put an end to this toxic pattern. Because really, there's a lot of advice out there, and the majority of it is pretty superficial and doesn't actually get to the root of the problem. All right. I know this because I spent a long time going through this, taking a lot of advice, but in this video, I'm going to give you 3 core areas that you must address to really get to the bottom of resolving this. All right, as you are watching this video, I'm guessing you have some idea of what the nice guy syndrome is. All right. So a quick recap and introduction if you're new to the concepts. So a nice guy is an inauthentic people pleaser who has weak boundaries, low self-esteem, and seeks external validation as well as struggling with codependency. Now, I do want to make an important distinction here because I've seen countless people, particularly women, confuse the term nice guy and advocate that it's actually a good thing. All right. A nice guy is not a good man. There is a difference between being a kind, good-hearted man who respects and treats people well, and then being a nice guy, on the other hand, who is ultimately playing a charade, wearing a mask, manipulating people, particularly women, when dating or in relationships. Okay, so a good man is a strong man who isn't afraid to set boundaries or speak up for what he needs or wants. Whereas a nice guy, on the other hand, has this immense fear of confrontation, conflict, or disagreement. So nice guys tend to hide their authentic selves, all right, to try and fit everyone else's expectations. Okay, this is all so that they might receive some validation because they are unable to give themselves that validation. All right, they lack self-esteem. They also believe that they need to hide all of their flaws and become what other people want them to be so that they might get some love, get their needs met, and ultimately live a problem-free life. Now, this expectation that a good life is a problem-free life is one of the most destructive paradigms to live in, as Robert Glover will tell you about in his book, No More Mr. Nice Guy. Yet being a nice guy is not fundamentally who you are, okay? It's only a coping mechanism or survival strategy or paradigm, whatever term you want to call it, okay? But this is something that you've carried from childhood into your adulthood, and it's something which is no longer serving you, okay? We term it a maladaptive survival strategy. So I'm not going to go much further into what causes the nice guy syndrome, what causes this maladaptive survival strategy. But you can check out my other video here to find out more about what causes it. But suffice it to say, in this video, being a nice guy is the result of a couple of key things. Number 1, it's a survival strategy, like I just mentioned, that you developed in your childhood to get emotional connection, all right, or to get your needs met as a child. All right, so somewhere along the line, you develop the belief that you are not lovable as you inherently are. All right, this is effectively toxic shame, internalized toxic shame. You are ashamed for who you are, and therefore, growing up, you try to adapt yourself to meet other people's expectations so that you might get your fundamental needs met as a kid. Number 2. A lot of social messaging in recent decades has begun to demonize or vilify masculinity and men. All right, this is a lot in the wake of radical feminism and things like toxic masculinity. All right, therefore, essential masculine traits were avoided. Okay, in the education system, you were told that they were wrong, and growing up, you have an aversion to embodying these masculine traits, which makes you a bit more of a spineless nice guy. The third and last thing I'm going to mention about the cause of nice guy, it is a lot to do with a lack of a father figure. There's many single parent households out there, as well as not having healthy male role models growing up. Either they were, more on that kind of classic toxic end of the spectrum, domineering, abusive, etc., or they themselves were nice guys. This lack of healthy male role models has led you to be out of touch with your masculine core, all right? And you see other men as a threat, okay? So nice guy syndrome is in part caused by this disowning and rejection of masculinity in general. All right, there is a lot of different ways to tackle the nice guy syndrome, but each of these is going to belong to one specific area. And all of these areas need addressing together, okay? They are mindset, your emotional processing, and embodiment, okay? Each foundation comes down to one thing, that is bettering your relationship to yourself, okay? Because as a nice guy, you've learned to disconnect from yourself to win the approval of others. I've learned this the hard way, that without addressing all three of these core foundations together, you're not going to succeed. Okay, it's all too easy to focus just in one area. And if you do that, you'll sabotage your efforts in the other two. So these are foundational areas that I cover in my personal one-to-one coaching as I help others avoid the pitfalls that I myself landed in. All right, so let's just go through all of these three areas. So first is mindset and paradigms, okay? Look, a man who exudes confident masculinity has a bulletproof mindset. In fact, this just goes for any kind of personal development work in general. And there are many aspects which make up a healthy mindset, but above all, it is about being growth orientated. One doesn't put a limit on the possibilities or opportunities for growth. And the core aspect of growth mindset is how you face challenges, okay? That's whether you let yourself become overwhelmed by them or whether you have the courage to face them head on and work towards finding solutions and growing, okay? Growing in your capacity and your skills. Now, I'm also fully aware that challenges also need a level of emotional maturity as well. So that's why in the next section, we'll look at emotions. Your mindset is shaped by your stage of development, okay? That's your psychological development and the paradigms through which you understand and interact with the world. Therefore, doing work in this area requires a radical shakedown and reframing of your reality. Okay, it's also about having the tools and practices to keep your mindset from slipping downwards into this negative spiral. Now, until there is a solid, positive, growth-orientated mindset, resolving your nice guy patterns is going to be impossible. So, what does a mindset shift or a healthy worldly paradigm include? That includes strategic thinking, okay? You look at situations and you can foreshadow consequences, okay? You're not acting impulsively on your emotions. You are also reprogramming your subconscious belief system. So much of self-esteem issues is rooted in the subconscious, okay? You also address the backward thinking that you've acquired with a nice guy persona. That is, if I am nice to everyone, if everyone likes me, I will get all of my needs met. Now, if you haven't already experienced this, you will see that this strategy isn't working. Basically, a nice guy is unable to get his needs met, okay? Everyone walks over him and treats him like a piece of trash. So that belief, I need to be perfect to be loved, or I can do it all on my own, none of this works. Next aspect of a healthy mindset, acting with discipline over motivation, okay? So that's like, I'm gonna do my workout or, work on my business, even when I don't feel like it, even when I don't feel motivated, okay? So discipline over feelings over motivations, okay? Because motivation is inconsistent and any kind of success, particularly in this work, requires consistency. Next up, radical self-responsibility. And that is particularly around getting your needs met and owning your desires. All right. The more you can be radically responsible for everything in your life, the less you're going to come out of this victim mindset of, oh, why is the world so tough? Why is all this happening to me? Now, caveat, I'm not minimizing or ignoring the real fact some people are victims, okay? But the question is, what are you going to do about the things which have happened to you? Okay, that is a strong mindset. Other things, like I've mentioned, seeing challenges as a good thing, an opportunity to grow and evolve. You also stop the give to get mentality, okay? Like this transactional thinking or this kind of covert contract thing, which Robert Glover talks about, like, oh, if I do this, the world's gonna reward me in this way. Stop that, okay? You also need to start reflecting on the ways that you're overgiving, all right? You're overgiving to others without receiving anything in return, all right? So you need to be aware of your boundaries there and where that behavior pattern is ingrained in you. Also, just in general, like a mature masculine man is not going to expect handouts, okay? And he's not desiring to have an easy ride through life, okay? He's worked out that actually a good life isn't an easy life. I think the modern day has shown this just with how much like instant gratification there is and all these dopamine hits, that excessive comfort doesn't lead to fulfillment and happiness. Okay, it's all about kind of overcoming challenges and growing, like I've told you. Just quickly, other things around mindset and paradigms, like discernment, that's really key. Okay, you're not easily swayed or influenced. Okay, you kind of can judge and weigh things up, use your critical thinking. Other things, integrity. Okay, you keep to your word and the word you give yourself more than anything. Okay, integrity is a lot about, doing what you say you're going to do to others, but I like to focus on the doing the things which you're going to tell yourself, okay? That is so crucial for the nice guy who so often falls into this pattern of self-betrayal, self-abandonment, prioritizing other people's needs and letting go of his dreams. All right, other things, becoming focused, all right, knowing that the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. All right, you don't get distracted or sidetracked from your goals or your missions. You also have clarity in your value set and your principles, and you're not swayed from them, okay? Particularly just to please other people. And understand that no longer being a nice guy doesn't make you an arsehole. It doesn't make you a toxic jerk, doesn't make you a man with toxic masculinity, whatever society wants to tell you. No. All right, this is a crucial thing that nice guys need to know. All right, they're so afraid of becoming like their abusive dad or that guy who they're in school with or offending others. No, like I said at the beginning, there is a difference between a good man and a nice guy. Nice guy are themselves toxic, okay? A good man, is still kind to others. Also accept that putting yourself first is the best way to make yourself happy and make the greatest contribution to the world. Like if you're not putting yourself first, you can't give your gifts to the world. And know that you can't please everyone, okay? As you go through this work, as you transform, as you evolve, some people maybe aren't going to endorse your change and your development so much. And that's just something you're going to have to accept. And don't try and please everyone. This is what has gotten you into this mess in the first place. All right, so enough on mindset. Let's look at healing emotions and psychological wounds. Okay, now, of course, mind, body, emotions are all inextricably linked, okay? Therefore, this can't be tackled on its own without addressing emotional triggers which affect our choice of actions. All right, this area of the inner work is the deepest, okay? It requires digging into your past and figuring out where you weren't able to process certain feelings and how they got stuck, turning into these stagnant emotions which kind of override our belief systems, etc. Also, these emotions which are getting triggered over and over again, like fear and shame. Okay, this is all about healing the inner child. It's a term that gets thrown around a lot these days, and that's something I think a lot of men have some kind of aversion towards because they think it's kind of soft, woo-woo or, overly emotional thing. But I would tell you here and now, until you actually hit that head on, you're not going to grow out of your dysfunctional patterns, okay? There is a part of your psyche which has got wounded as a child, okay, didn't get his needs met or wasn't soothed properly, that is still kind of acting out, causing these dysfunctional nice guy patterns. So again, that means digging deep, all right, seeing where and how you were hurt as a child or you didn't get your needs met and how that has shaped your worldly paradigm, i.e., I need to be nice to everyone to get my needs met. Okay, that coping strategy, which is now causing you self-sabotage. Another common area of psycho-emotional processing is something called inner parts, similar to inner child works. This is the diverging parts of our psyche, which are seemingly at odds with one another. All right, so it's about identifying them, identifying where we have ambivalent feelings, and often is about finding the protector part who is there protecting our wounded inner child. Therefore, to access that inner child and do that deeper healing work, you first need to speak to and integrate the needs of this inner protector part. Okay, that's just one example, but you can go out there, look for a therapist who will do that with you. Also, emotional processing doesn't just stop there, okay? It includes learning how to feel, learning how to express your emotions in healthy ways, also how to not become reactive when triggered emotionally, okay? Often nice guys are very impulsive in their nice guy behavior. Often it's quite instinctual, and that's because emotions get triggered, like shame, fear, what I've just said, being exposed, and then they therefore kind of need to hide their mask. On top, it is about learning to read and handle the emotions of others well. All right, this is referred to as emotional intelligence, and that is a key trait of a mature, integrated man. In this work, you're going to have to face your discomfort around your shame, the shame that is stopping you from thinking you have needs or thinking that you're worthy enough to have your needs met. All right, it's crucial that you're going to go into that ickiness of feeling your shame. Okay, but overcoming your shame will allow you to be able to ask for your needs to be met, for you to set and hold boundaries, and for you to own your desires. So just an overview of the aspects of emotional processing, that is healing your mother and father wound, all right? Healing wounds with masculine and other men, healing your wounded inner child who was shamed, and then identifying conflicting inner parts and learning to reintegrate them. Also, I recommend somatic emotional release work. You know, if there are kind of stuck, stored survival stress from trauma in your body, getting this somatic emotional release work is really powerful. Also doing shadow work, right? Seeing how a lot of your nice guy tendencies are acted out from the subconscious. And you can check my other video out on shadow work, but shadow is the kind of parts of our psyche, our character, which we've rejected. And this is often the case for nice guys because they're rejecting those kind of socially unacceptable parts of themselves, and they've repressed them, but they act out unconsciously. All right, the last part of healing the nice guy syndrome is embodiment, okay? This is a really popular term in self-development these days, and it's one that I can cringe at sometimes, even though I am an embodiment coach. It's also perhaps one of the more difficult things for men to grasp, as we tend to be a little bit more rational and logical in our makeup. But really, like, this is so crucial because you can't think your way out of some of these problems, okay? So much of it is kind of deep psychology, emotional stuff. And unless you get your body online evolved with this, like all that mindset work or the emotional work isn't going to count for anything. Okay, so we're not just rational beings. We have bodies, we have emotions, and how we relate to our bodies and experiences very much shapes who we are and what we do. All right, although not complete, my definition of embodiment is expressing something through the body. All right, yet it also includes the relationship between our states or patterns and our bodies. Also, how we experience emotions and how we show up in our relationships. Okay, so it's a pretty broad topic, it's a pretty broad term, but it's important to know that every physiological state in our body has a corresponding psychological state. Therefore, we can change our psycho-emotional state by changing our body's state. All right, this is what is referred to as a bottom-up approach. Now, embodiment is cultivated through practice. All right, and there are many different modalities, some specific to help men tap into and embody their masculine energy, which is basically the antidote to nice guy behavior. But the most important thing about embodiment is that it helps you avoid getting stuck in this mental masturbation, all right? Knowing all this theory without any consistent implementation or effect in the world, all right? So when you're looking into embodiment, you want to be looking at embodying the masculine archetypes of king, warrior, lover, magician. You want to be looking at working on your body felt sense, all right? And your ability to make your insights as part of your lived reality. So how does, a confident, mature, masculine man actually show up in his relationships? How do you change your body posture? All these kind of things. And that part about cultivating a felt sense, this is really important to assist the deeper emotional processing and developing emotional intelligence, all right? Because so much of emotion is sensation in your body. And if you're numbed out to your body, you can't start processing your emotions or developing emotional intelligence. Yeah, as I mentioned, also the thing of like how the body posture correlates with our psycho-emotional state, and that thing of like, be a physical representation of the opposite of a nice guy. And then some more specifics around embodiment is like voice modulation. How fast are you speaking? How deep are you speaking? And then other things like holding eye contact. Do you avoid holding eye contact? Do you have shifty, darting eyes all over the place? Things like this, all right? Do you fidget with your hands when you're talking to women or talking to your boss, asking for a raise, this kind of stuff? Other things for embodiment, nervous system regulation, all right, and nervous system flexibility. This is crucial because nice guys avoid confrontation or speaking their truths, setting boundaries, etc., because it's too overwhelming for their system, basically, and they'll go into a fawn response. Again, check out my other videos on these trauma patterns. But fawning is basically like submitting to someone, giving up your needs and your desires, all because you can't handle a high arousal charge in kind of confrontation or a kind of threatening situation within your nervous system, all right? Something called your window of tolerance, again, you can check out that video, is too small. So you need to practice building capacity within your nervous system so you can handle more stress and more threat. Then I also recommend practicing with experts and within a community when you're doing embodiment, so you can get feedback, that you can get proper guidance for doing this kind of stuff. And there's a lot of men's group stuff, men's embodiment stuff out there, which will be helpful for you. And then finally, just some other practical books. I really recommend reading Robert Glover's book and listening to podcasts with him or checking out some of the videos on my YouTube channel. Then seek out coaching or therapy, okay? You're in this position because most likely you've been trying to do all this inner work or just go through life on your own. But you need to be in contact with other grown-up men who have kind of worked through this and know what it's like to be on the other side, all right? And if you're interested, you can reach out to me and we can talk, see if we're a good fit. Otherwise, if you haven't got the resources for coaching, I recommend finding a support group, a men's support group. There's so many out there these days. Just go on social media, just do a Google search, and I'm sure you can find an online one, or hopefully in your town or city. All right, other things here is start letting other people do stuff for you. All right, ask other people to help you. As a nice guy, you will have had the pattern of, over giving and over helping, thinking that it's going to get you love and get your needs met, etc. All right, so flip that. All right. Embrace that discomfort of asking someone to do things for you. I'm sure there's a long list that you could get help on. And related to that, learn to say no and actually mean it, all right? This is all about boundary setting. I'm sure your default is to be a yes man. Again, flip that. Make your default around request no, okay? And that's going to help protect your time and energy so you can focus on doing things which bring you joy and that you need to do for you to come forward. All right. So again, this brings me on to my next point of learn to please yourself by doing activities that you actually want to do. All right. Prioritize your own needs and desires first. All right. This is going to feel really uncomfortable. You're going to have fear of becoming someone toxic, etc. But trust me, you're going to be so far on the one end of the spectrum that you just slightly practicing that is not going to change you into a toxic jerk or anything. Okay, it's going to be healthy. All right. And all of this stuff needs to be implemented in daily action. All right. Daily action towards your personal goals. And that's going to build confidence. Okay. Because there's a lot here. All right. But the more often you do this stuff, the more often you prioritize yourself and you change your behavior patterns, the more success you're going to get, and the more confidence you're going to get, and that's going to drive you to want to do more, and it's just going to fuel it, all right? And you're going to be on an upward spiral, okay? So you can't just do this one-off and expect big changes. This needs to be like little steps, but very consistently, okay? Because if you have like a big win, but then you stop doing it, you're going to have this contraction, all right? And then you're going to fall back into old patterns. You're not going to believe in yourself or believe what is possible. So I really highly recommend doing daily action steps. And part of those daily action steps can be confronting tense situations or discomfort. I tend to recommend guys who I'm coaching to do a 21-day streak of confronting discomfort or tense situations up to 3 times a day. And then you keep a journal around this, all right? So you've really got some data of like what you were feeling before, what it was like to confront that challenging situation, and how you felt after. And that data is just going to give you more confidence that you really can do this. And related to that is stop seeking an easy life. Again, the nice guy's false paradigm or broken paradigm is that like having an easy, problem-free life is going to be a happy life. But no, you need to understand that a fulfilling life is about challenges and overcoming challenges and bettering yourself. So you want to create an environment for yourself where you can actively engage in discomfort on a daily basis, and that's going to allow you to cultivate self-discipline. So for me, this is like regular cold showers and working out, the things I don't actually really want to do. But again, I'm building that muscle, I'm building my willpower, so I am less hesitant about embracing difficult situations, which I know I need to do, whether it's hard conversation or fucking doing my taxes, I don't know. Another thing is spending extended alone time. This is really important just for you to be able to get in touch with your own authentic needs and desires without influence from the outside world. So like I see a lot of guys who want to do this. They know that they need to prioritize their needs and desires, but actually they don't know what those are because they've never actually looked within themselves to really figure out what is it they themselves authentically want to do without influence from society or family. All right, so this is a video. There's been a lot here. There's a lot to kind of pick apart and integrate. I hope you found it valuable. The key takeaway here is just to remember there's like these 3 categories of this work you need to do to really resolve the nice guy syndrome, okay? Because if you don't cover all 3 areas, all right, your lack in one area is going to sabotage any work you do in the other 3, okay? So for instance, if you really develop a great, strong mindset, but you've got some unhealed emotional wound from your childhood, which keeps getting triggered and causing you to act out in self-sabotaging ways, that's going to undo any of the hard work you've done with your mindset and your paradigms. Likewise, if you've worked on maybe both of those 2 areas, but you've lacked the embodiment, there's going to be some kind of like mismatch on what you're thinking about yourself and how you're thinking about the world, but how you're actually showing up in your body. And that's really crucial because it's how you interact with other people, it's how they receive you, okay? And if people don't receive that confident, grounded, masculine energy from you, they're going to treat you as a nice guy and, walk all over you. So again, cover these 3 areas and you're going to be on your way to cementing long-lasting transformation. All right, I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you're new to the channel, again, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. This is going to help me grow the channel so I can provide more content for you and reach a wider audience. So thank you very much.